Welcome back. Well, guys, we're going to do a little sample turn, maybe a few turns here with the Mac starter deck, kind of go through how I think about cards, go through how I look at setting up the turns. I think Mac is really important to think about how you sequence stuff. I think that's how you get the most out of him as a leader. You really have to think about which order to play stuff in to get the best bang for your buck. So Mac's going to give you access to Rangers, Rogues, and Tradesmen. He's going to give you access to Halflings. And when you deploy Rangers, you're going to get to look at the top card of your bank. When you deploy Rogues, you're going to get to steal a renown from a nearby area. And when you play Tradesmen, which is key to remember because playing is in your guild hall as well, when you play Tradesmen, you're able to discard a card and draw a card, which is very strong. So without further ado, let's draw our opening hand. Let's see here. Okay, cool. So we did draw a villager. All right, so on turn one, when I see two items in an opening hand like this, I'm usually going to get rid of one of them, even if it is a little risky. Theory being that, you know, if I put this down turn one, I should be able to get enough value out of it by the time it ever gets discovered, hopefully. So we're going to put a short sword down as our first guild hall card. And then I think the easy play here is to play a villager at the Blackwood Outpost. So we get a couple triggers here, right? So first trigger, we have the Tradesman trigger, triggering Mac, which we can discard a card and draw. And second trigger is we have a Tradesman at the Blackwood Outpost. So we'll gain a point for that. And I think if I was going to discard a card in this hand, it would probably be Shortbow. Yeah. I'm going to discard Shortbow. Alright, so I pick up a Rogue. And now, after all those triggers resolve, we're left with the battlefield looking like this. There's nothing much else we can do this turn. So as I look at my hand for the cache, which is where we can store cards for a mana discount later, I think I want to put Blackwood Scout in there. So that in later turns I can get a mana reduction on his cost and possibly get a little bit of tempo. So let's go with that. And let's say that's the end of our turn one. Let's draw two. Oh, sweet. We drew an Envoy. Okay, cool. Let's untap. So now we have some options here with the villager in play. I think the best play most of the time, we have a burglar too. Cool. Yeah, we can do some real spicy stuff with this. So we can go pull a villager back and retreat him, which exhausts him for the turn, which we don't get to use his services this turn. We're not going to get to claim renown with him, but we are getting him as a face-up card in the guild hall, which means from every turn here on out, he's going to count as 2 mana every time we tap him, which is going to be awesome. And I can already see another thing we can do here. We want to use this mana in our guild hall to play a burglar face up, which is not going to trigger anything with his rogue, but it is just another face-up card in our guild hall, which is really going well so far. So that counts as our card for turn. Now we have 2 more that we can play with. I think the easy play here is come out and replace our villager with a Maplehurst Ranger. So you see how that turn went. It's pretty explosive. Now we have a draw trigger on the stack, right? We're going to draw. We also have a Mac trigger on the stack. So we want to make sure we sequence this right, where we want to draw the card first, gain the card, and then now let the Mac trigger resolve and gain the knowledge of what's on top. So we have a short sword on top. Well, it looks like we're tapped out for this turn. I've used all the mana we possibly can. I think we're going to move to the cache step, and here's another great card to throw into the cache. Envoy. That ability is possibly one of the best cards in this deck. If you're able to claim an area on deploy, do that and ignore a contesting unit for each tradesman you have there. So him coming into play already ignores 1. And then if you have villagers and other things like that, you can really, really steal a spot late game. And that's the underlying power of this card. Whenever I'm playing the Mac deck, this is the card I'm digging for, because this card just seals up games. We're going to put that in the cache. I'm going to draw 2. I'm going to end the turn. So we'll take one more turn here. So we're going to refresh with 2 face-up cards in the guild hall, which is just super fast. The mana is accelerating very quickly for our deck. Here we have a number of options. We don't quite have access to the cache yet. We need one more turn of playing cards into the cache. So I can already see a couple cards we're probably not going to want to take with us too far. But I think if we don't get Blackwood Shadow down, we will regret it. So let's get 1 face-up card and 1 face-down card, which is going to give us 3 mana. And we'll play a Blackwood Shadow here at the outpost. Trigger. So if our opponent has any influence here, we're able to trigger Mac and we're able to steal an influence point. For the sake of this video, we're not going to worry about that right now, but the Rogue also triggers Blackwood Outpost, which is going to gain us a renown pip. And now we have a pretty nice little board on the Blackwood Outpost in only a few turns, right? Like, this has all been set up relatively quickly. And then we can also, we have 2 options here. We have 2 more mana, so we could short sword the Ranger, which is always, that seems pretty strong. We also have Undercity Ambusher that can still get deployed too. So if we needed to trade or facilitate something, we definitely have the cards to do that. You know, and I think the smart play here would be to put a short sword on this Ranger, since he's technically a free card anyways. He replaced himself when he came into the game. And you can start pressuring an opposing leader while developing your board, while getting an explosive start with your cards. All right, I feel like this was a very, very good start for the deck. You go to your cache step. Now we have 3 cards in our cache. That's going to be online next turn. And we draw to finish. So as you can see, the Mac deck can really put on a lot of steam quickly. I think the thing that you have to think about with this deck is you always want to grind the edges with Mac as much as possible, where you can get grind the edges, so you can get as much value out of him as possible. He's never going to be the biggest, flashiest leader, but I think if you keep making turns like this over and over again, it really starts to stack up, especially with all the value you're triggering from Rangers and Tradesmen and things like that. So definitely keep Mac in your mind for explosive starts. Keep in mind too, this is just the starter deck, so you could always add more Tradesmen, add more fast openings, I guess, to the deck. And I think it could be a very, I don't know, I look forward to building a lot of Mac decks in the future for that reason. So hope you like this little video to kind of show you how a few turns of my Mac playing goes. And you can see, like, the allure of the deck is this tempo and this speed that you can kind of put on your opponent very quickly. So hope you enjoyed, and I'll talk to you later.